Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's 3:30 p.m., and I am calling this meeting of the Maple Broadband Executive Committee to order for the 23rd of July, 2025. Welcome, Jeff. We're just calling the meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. So I've distributed the agenda, and you've all had a chance to review. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Okay, there we go. We'll consider that a first and a second, depending on whoever Sharon decides got their word in first. Anyone like to make any edits or comments on the agenda? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of approving the agenda as distributed, raise your hand or say aye. Okay, that's unanimous. Next up is approval of the minutes from July 2nd. So you've all had a chance to review those. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve as presented.
Okay. Si, do you want to be the second on that one? I think
Yes.
Shannon was a
Yes,
smidge ahead of you. Okay. Anyone have any edits or comments on the minutes? Hearing none. All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Okay. Jeff, you're abstaining?
I'm abstaining. I was only at the meeting for part of it, so.
Yep. Got it. Okay, great. Public comments. Anyone want to make a public comment on this beautiful day? Okay.
Hope everyone is enjoying this beautiful day.
I had a long trail run on the TAM this morning in Middlebury, so I'm doing my part. Okay, chair report, Steve.
I'll make it brief. There's probably a lot to talk about when we get down to updates, item 7, but I think that the only significant news is that at long last, we do have all the permitting needed for a future hub in Ripton. We did get a building permit and we posted a sign to get that put up into place. The only constraint on it is that, first of all, we're not certain when we're going to be installing the hub in Ripton. I think it'll happen sooner if BEAD happens, but it may not happen sooner if BEAD doesn't happen, so it may be delayed. And it was surprising content in the permitting documentation is that the permit is good for 2 years. So we'd have to reapply for the permit if we haven't done anything within 2 years, which I think is pretty unlikely. I just think, that gives us quite a bit of time to do what we have to do. And we also have permitting for 100% done for Middlebury, which would be kind of our first foray regardless. So that's good news. It's good news. It's one task off my list of things to do. So I've turned my attention to item 7. C, which we will talk about later. So that's my chair report.
Maybe we should add 7C to the parking lot.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, we don't need to do that necessarily. Hopefully, it won't be on there forever. Okay, Steve, thank you. Anyone have any questions for Steve? Okay, so next up is the executive director report. So no surprise to anyone on this call, I don't think. I think even Jose is probably aware of what I'm working on. The BEAD applications are due on Friday, so I am working diligently with WCVT to get that submitted. And while we're on the subject, I actually do not have anything that I feel needs to be discussed in executive session around BEAD. If anyone has any questions or anything they want to raise, I just want to say that now as we're talking about it. But if not, it was listed as proposed executive session, so we'd have a time to talk about it, but I don't really have any detail to discuss. So we can cover that when we get to that part of the agenda. I just want to say that. Hi, Adam. We can't hear you. I don't know if you can hear us. Anyway, I'm giving my executive director report. So the other thing following on quite quickly after that is just I have a teeny tiny bit of work to do to finish the asset capitalization for 2024 so we can get that audit going. I think Lynn and Darlene were trying to get it kicked off with Bonnie during last week when I was on vacation, and Bonnie had a personal matter and was out. So, but I'm frantically trying to get that done so that Darlene can do her journal so we can get that into the works. So that's that. And then the next thing is following on to that, as you guys are, I'm sure, aware, because I've mentioned it here multiple times, in the August VCB meeting, Maple Broadband is slated to present an executive session to the broadband board our updated business model, which obviously we've been updating all along with BEAD. And one of the tasks I have for Finance Committee anyway is to produce an alternate non-BEAD version. So basically getting BEAD in, getting the audit in, and continuing to oversee, such as it is, which is fairly minimal, the construction work, which just started Monday. The crews came in and started, so that's exciting. The working on the model is the next thing. So a lot of financial stuff at the moment. And I suppose also some marketing oversight, but I have an update on that later. And London Middlebury is doing a great job running with a lot of that. I will say in my executive director report, because it's quite exciting, the revised website is ready to go. I think there's the section that has the prior meetings is still not exactly as I want to have it, but considering the traffic on that page is extremely minimal and mostly internal, I think that I don't want to hold that up. So we're just, I just need to log into GoDaddy and give them the go ahead to port over the DNS. So by the end of day today, the new website should be live, which is really exciting. Jeff, you're muted.
Where is construction underway?
Construction is underway. So we had discussed a number of different routes earlier, but basically we have line extensions in a number of areas. I can call for spreadsheets. I mean, I can actually send you guys a sheet if you want, but there's a couple that's in Shoreham, Orwell, Whiting, off the top of my head. Not sure if there's any others other than those towns. Let me just have a look quickly. Leicester, yeah, that's Whiting, Orwell, Shoreham. Oh, Cornwall. There's a small spur in Cornwall, and another Cornwall and Shoreham. Yeah, so there's only about 3 miles for which we have licenses right now. The scope that the governing board signed off in the July meeting we have is for, I think it was about 13 miles or something like that. So the other ones we're waiting on pole licenses for. So they're going to come back later in the year when we have that. And also some permitting for buried work. Hi, Nancy. So we had the, I don't recall if we discussed this in this forum, but we had the conversation with Syracuse as part of the kickoff to ask them, would they rather do this work all as one batch when we have all the licenses? And they basically said, nope, we have crews available now, so we'll do it as licenses become available as long as there's kind of a minimal scope of work. So they're up here now for just a couple of miles. And one of those sections I'm actually happy to report is the poor customer who was accidentally unserved because of incorrect data from one of the incumbent providers. So this is poor person's a business owner who's been running on satellite and was very upset that they were left out of everyone's build plans. So complained to us and worked with the public service department to clarify the actual situation on the ground. And I'm really happy to report that person will be getting service in the next few weeks. So I told the public service department and I told the customer it's going to be several weeks still, but construction is in progress. Okay. Anyone have any other questions?
Could you remind me what you said about the executive session you expect at VCBB to cover our business plan? When is that? August something?
13th, 14th. Jose, do you have the date off the top of your head? It's the second Monday.
I want to say the 11th.
11th. Yep,
Yeah,
August 11th. Yep.
And I haven't seen an invite, actually, unless the invite for the VCBB meeting was issued, in which case I did receive it. Ellie, do you need to do any work sharing with the financial committee to make sure everything is in order for that meeting, or are we all in good shape?
I definitely do. That's the third task after getting BEAD submitted and getting the information to Darlene for the 24 audit, is to work on updating the model and putting together some slides and getting the finance committee together.
Ellie, if I may, if you are having people join you in executive session, if you want to send along names and emails, I'll make sure that they're included in the breakaway
That's a great
Unless
point.
you're coming in person, which,
I think this was more of an internal discussion. We wanted to make sure that we had, I think Steve was more asking, are we doing the right things internally within Maple Broadband to make sure that it has more eyes on it than just me? But it is also a good question we should talk about of who else. I mean, for example, our chair might wish to be there. Don't know if anyone else has any extreme interest in being there. Treasurer might. So we'll see. It depends on people's availability and interest, I think, as long as we have the proper checks and feedback and review ahead of time. Okay, anything else? Okay, so the next item on the agenda is proposed executive session for BEAD, and as I said, I don't have anything that I feel we need to talk about, so if anyone else does, we can do that. If not, we can simply move on. Doesn't sound like anyone does. Wish us luck. Okay. All right. So updates. I suppose I already gave some of the update for the audit in the executive director report. Does anyone have any questions about where we are at the 24 audit? Sai, do you have anything you want to add? Anything I was in the loop on last week? Because I know Sai has offered or had offered to work with Lynn and Darlene because Sai had led the prior audits.
No, I don't have anything to do. I went and sort of dug up a few things, but as I'm no longer a QuickBooks person, a lot of the stuff that I could have leapt in and dug out, I can't get into anymore. So I've let Lynn know that if she wants me to, she can assign me out access and I can help out with it, especially when it gets to the big, long, nasty list of things that that Bonnie will send her.
There was a purchase order that was issued kind of on the cusp of availability of Lynn, and I think Sai jumped in and took care of it. Has any loop been closed on that? I don't know whether Lynn is familiar with the process. It sounded like what I told her we were going to do was at odds with what she thought she was going to do, and I wanted to just make sure we get that sorted out.
I don't know. I sent her the master and I think I copied Darlene as well, just so because it's not rocket science, obviously, but I'll circle back around with her on that to make sure she's good. It doesn't, or I can still do them. It's a piece of cake.
Yeah, well, yeah, let's not worry about it too much, Si. Next time I ask for a PO, I'll copy you on it along with Lynn, and then you guys can, yeah.
That's fine.
Jeff, did you have a question?
I did. When might we expect 6/30/25 internal financial?
That's a good question. Let me take that up to ask Darlene. I feel like they should probably be available now, at least for the P&L. Right. So, yeah.
Well, and balance sheet, we understand would at least reflect the adjustments through 2023 now. So yeah, that will be different from what we've seen previously.
Yep.
And the difference, the work you're doing on asset capitalization, when we do get that balance sheet, is going to affect the construction in progress number, right? Like that's what will move.
Primarily, yes. The construction in progress, and then the capitalized assets, network assets, will be much higher because we had a lot of construction in progress at the end of 23 that went live in 24.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. Anything else on the audit? Okay. So next is we have a standing finance committee. There's no update other than what we talked about that we need to get together before August 11th. So I will, as soon as I get BEAD in, I'm going to turn my attention to scheduling to make sure that we can get a meeting on the books before that. Okay. Old Town Road. Steve, do you want to do the update here?
Sure. There's been periods during the day today where I wanted to have a half-hour conversation with Ellie about this, and then as the day progressed, I needed less time with her, and then by the time 3:30 arrived, it seems like I really didn't need to talk to her too much to tee things up. So,
Yay for Steve.
It's just been kind of a very, very disorganized, a lot of very chaotic for a project that requires a moderate amount of project management. And so the scope, as a reminder, is that we are cooperatively working with Green Mountain Power to install interduct, basically duct, from one end of Old Town Road to the other, which we will subsequently populate with fiber cable when we're ready to light up Ripton. And that's pretty clear cut. There are two other comms providers that are also going to be placing their own duct along the same route. So now there's 3 comms providers plus Green Mountain Power all engaged in the same project. And based on my best efforts to get information so we could do planning has fallen flat. And I think there seems to be no project management involved in it, which is very worrisome because that often can translate into cost overruns and who knows what else. So right now I'm working really aggressively to get things firmed up. The challenge was, we believe, based on secondhand information, that Maple Broadband, Consolidated, and First Light, the 3 comms providers, are all going to engage a contractor, one specific contractor, Eustace Cable Enterprises, to do all the physical work out on site. And Green Mountain Power will be furnishing and operating a trenching device machine that will place all of our respective duct in a trench that runs about 2 miles long. Mm-hmm. And so the challenge there is that nobody knows. That seems to be what we believe is the perception on the part of Green Mountain Power. But since they're not managing the project, they haven't said that to anyone. We're getting some of that information secondhand. So it's very, very concerning, especially since I think both Ellie and I are control freaks, and we just don't like to leave a lot of unknowns out there. So as it stands right now, we don't have a number, but we have very good prospects for getting everything to fall into place. We have a contractor that we're planning on engaging to do the physical work. We expect that contractor to furnish the interduct and the pull boxes that are needed as part of the project, and then we'll be paying them for that. We received a what I'll call a preliminary quote about an hour ago from that contractor, and it stacks up to about what I expected in terms of cost. But there's a lot of unknowns there. And then there's also who's responsible for this project? Who's going to make decisions and things like that? And we don't know who that is. We think it should be Green Mountain Power, but I think they want to try to avoid accountability and liability. I think that seems to be their overall approach, but I think it seems like without the central control over this, since there's multiple parts playing, you'll see involved during the project, probably see us 3 comms providers, Green Mountain Power, Eustace Cable Enterprises, and then probably a construction oversight firm that will be engaging. So there's lots of people in there, lots of people probably with different opinions, and there has to be some way to break ties and sort out questions quickly. So we're getting it from secondhand that the timing start of the project is unknown because Green Mountain Power does not believe that we have the materials that are needed to do the job, which is true. We haven't ordered the materials yet because we don't know what's needed and when it's going to be needed and who's furnishing it. So it's not healthy. But I think Ellie and I meet with Green Mountain Power tomorrow morning, and I hope that we'll have enough details that we can actually firm things up pretty well and proceed with issuing a contract. I had estimated at a high level that the cost of this project would be $25,000 to $30,000. The preliminary quote we received pegged it in at about $25,000. So were about in the neighborhood. The quotes that were furnished. A couple weeks ago or a month ago, I solicited quotations for interduct and pull boxes from Power and Tel, and their numbers for the distances that we need to cover, about 8,500 feet, came in pretty close to what we were quoted. So, and there's not even hell of a lot of markup in there. These kind of is marked, rounded up a little bit, but not of consequence. So, it's encouraging that we're going to be where we want to be until somebody says we haven't ordered anything yet, or there's some other deal breaker that we don't know about. But ultimately, right now, my intent, I guess what I can do, let's do this. The other thing we've done is we have to execute an agreement with Eustis Cable Enterprises when the time comes, so that we will pay them for whatever work they're doing. And we have been informed that a RUS form, I think it's 717, is a short form agreement created by the Rural Utility Service, the federal entity. And we also used a different version of that form when we signed our initial agreement with Syracuse Utilities. That form was 200 pages worth.
That was the 515, not the 717.
Yeah, and so we don't need a 200-page agreement because the scope is pretty small. So we've reached out to one of our lawyers and asked him to evaluate that form to see if everything related to a potential engagement will cause problems. So we expect to receive some feedback on that by the beginning of next week. And I'd like to move that we approve executing an agreement with Eustis Cable Enterprises at an amount not to exceed $30,000, and after all due diligence, Ellie and I will work out to our mutual satisfaction. How's that for a really long motion? Is there a second? Thanks, Shannon. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but I think really what would help us now is that we really don't, we're on a pretty thin ice as it is. One of the reasons we haven't ordered any materials yet is because we don't know who's furnishing materials, but we got to order materials. Lead time on the stuff that if we bought it, is 45 to 60 days. So, and the work's supposed to happen in the fall, so we better get in gear. So this would just help us get through to the point where we can continue to do work we need to do without waiting for a meeting with the executive committee. So any questions on all the information I just gave you?
Well, let's get a second on that motion and then talk about it, and then let's talk about materials.
We got it
second
from Shannon.
Second from
I
Shannon.
was the second,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Discussion. Jeff.
We have an identified source of funds to pay for this?
We would use the town ARPA for this, which is flexible. Nancy?
To clarify, what's the total dollar amount of a cost to us for this piece that what's your estimate on that? I heard you say 25, and that's for everything, Steve?
At this point in the information that we have, yes, 25,000, which is labor and materials.
Okay.
But I think part of the devil's in the details there, Nancy, because we're going to need the scope. There's no scope written down at this point, so it'd be really easy for the provider to reach out to us and say, you didn't tell us we were going to have to do X, and we want more money. So part of the work we need to do between now and spending money is being real clear on exactly what our expectations are.
And one other question. It seems odd that Consolidated and First Light would be interested in a project with a third possible provider. What do you think is going on?
Well, I think it's a public service, if you will, on the part of Green Mountain Power to to help us participate in this project, or to allow us to participate in their project when they're doing work for themselves. And so I think it would be ill-advised to allow Consolidated or invite Consolidated to participate, but leave Maple Broadband out of it. So all they've done is reach out to the three providers they're aware of that are in the area and invite all three of us to participate. And it's my understanding that all three of us will participate, and all three of us will probably be using the same contractor.
Yeah, it's kind of a dig once sort of policy. Makes a lot of sense. And one of the questions that I have for JSI is, just given the uncertainty around the GMP project management, have we spoken to the other firms to understand how they're handling this uncertainty? Because where I thought you were going with that, Nancy, is that First Light and Consolidated probably wouldn't be super comfortable going into a project with less than extremely clear scope. So we're all in the same boat as it relates to that uncertainty, and I feel like it's normal in telecoms that you can be competitors one moment and collaborate the next moment. So
my question was more about why would they be interested in the project at all?
Well, they have existing routes. I mean, at least Consolidated surely has an existing route to serve Ripton, because we know for a fact that there's no one has any route that goes over that pass in Hancock. So it's just they want to upgrade their existing way to serve Ripton.
Yeah, to be clear from our perspective, and I think it's probably Consolidated and First Light's perspective, is that if you want to get up and you want to serve anybody in Ripton, you want to serve the Snow Bowl, for example, you have to use that route. There's no alternate route at this point. I think Ellie has found what she thinks might serve as an alternate route, but the Old Town Road is always been identified as a potential alternate escape route out of Ripton in the event of a flood. And so it really is, it's kind of the only logical solution for doing that work. And what's to be clear, Green Mountain Power is moving from aerial infrastructure along that road to underground infrastructure along that road in an interest of improving resiliency. And then once that's done, that pole line, they're taking out of service. And I know based on past history, they may not take the poles down for 20 more years, but they're not, the poles will be out of service. So really, if you want to get up to Bripton and the Snow Bowl, you really have to use Old Town Road.
Okay.
Anything else?
All right.
Ready to move?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say we have a motion on the floor. All in favor of the motion as presented by Steve, raise your hand or say aye. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you all.
Thanks all.
I think, the question I have is that quote, as you said, that is for supply, that's for materials and labor. In the event that we, for some reason, can't get materials from Eustis or don't want to get materials from Eustis, what's your thoughts on that, Steve? Should we do another authorization enabling a direct materials procurement in the event that you and I, which is really you, decide that that's the best way forward?
That's really not a bad idea at all, Ellie. That's keep it in our hip pocket.
Yeah.
For some reason, in chance that there's negotiations with Eustis Cable Enterprises doesn't work to our satisfaction, we can pretty quickly turn around. I think we want to do those. I think the one was ended up was like 5,000, and the pull boxes that I pulled a quote on was about 6,000. I think we're going to probably have to go out to competitive bid, which is going to slow things down a bit, but I think it's not a time-consuming project. So, sure.
Well, maybe what we do in that case then is we put it out to bid if we go down that route, and then we can do a vote over email, because this is essentially a commodity purchase, and that way we're asking people to vote on the actual amounts rather than estimating right now an authorization.
That's good. I like it. I think what what I can do, actually, this is another case where we need the executive committee's approval to spend money, but there's no harm in us going out to bid like tomorrow for those
Mhm.
materials.
Yep.
And then if and when we need to spend the money, we'll reapproach the executive committee and seek their approval. And if we don't have time to do it, we'll just do it via email, which is what we've done in the past. Does that make sense to everyone?
Sounds good to me.
That's a great idea. Good suggestion, Ally. Thank you.
Okay.
We're good.
All right. So Nancy's noted she needs to leave in about 10 minutes or so. So let me move on with the agenda because you probably want to hear some of the marketing update, Nancy. So the 2025 construction updates, we will have more extensive updates in prior meetings. So the update for now is that, as I said earlier, that Syracuse started 2 days ago, and they're beginning with strand placement, and then we'll get to cable placement for approximately 3 miles of line extensions that we expect to go live probably sometime in the next couple of weeks. It won't take too long to do this small of a bit, and then we're waiting on permitting to do a larger chunk probably in the fall, mid-fall. Any questions on that? Okay, so I am going to do the marketing update. I actually asked London Middlebury to spend 20 minutes putting together a couple of talking points because I was on vacation. There's a lot going on, and instead they put together a little deck. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and you guys can see that. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
Okay. Great. So here's where we are. So the website launch, as I said earlier, this will be launched by the end of day today. I just need to log into GoDaddy and flip over the domain. So it is really exciting. So some of the highlights, we have now town-specific pages, which is great. Local imagery. So the photo shoot that we did, I think there's more on that later. But yeah, it now actually looks like an Addison County-based brand, and the website is designed to be optimized around service provisioning, and some of the issues we had on mobile, especially on the services page, are now resolved. So it is really exciting. Yeah, and then there's some of these other things are touched on in later slides. And so I will, of course, let you guys know when that does in fact publish so that you can go and check it out. So this is an example of one of the new digital ads that they have, and you can see here it's simulating buffering to be able to show the benefits of not having to deal with buffering by having reliable streaming fiber service. So we did cover this some months ago, but based on the customer research, all the positioning on the website and the advertising is now leading with the benefits of fiber, and then the secondary messaging layer is around local control, local ownership, and all of that. Bye, Nancy. Thank you for coming. And so many of you participated in having headshots done for the website, and that was the first community photo day, I think they called it. So you can see here we've got some photos of locals, which are now gracing the website and will be gracing our digital and print ads. And part of this is we've purchased some aerial photography from Caleb Kenna so that the town-specific pages actually have something related to the town where possible. There's a couple where there aren't, but some of them, like Cornwall, for example, Middlebury, New Haven, I mean, they're extremely obvious as to what they are. So it looks really, really good. So it's really exciting. I mean, it's not exactly a brand refresh from a logo perspective, but it's certainly a brand refresh from a look and feel perspective. We've gotten away from the stock photography of random people with weird, awkward smiles, and we now have actual Addison County residents. So very exciting.
Ellie, is this going to be one of our web pages?
This is not. I mean, some of these things are actually on the web page. I think this one I remember seeing on one of the. I think it's maybe even on the services page. Some of them are. Some of them are showing up in social media or digital ads or print ads. So use a couple examples of that in later slides.
Yeah,
so for example,
because the left side of that slide, whatever it is not appropriate for a website. So I'm assuming it's just more of the PowerPoint.
Yes, this is just the PowerPoint. This is to explain to you what we've done here by having a community photo day and some of the benefits of that.
Okay.
So direct mail and print. So we're refreshing the welcome kits, and the timing worked out well because we wanted to work through the stock that we had already printed and then refresh them to make sure that there's updated messaging, updated photographs. So there is an updated welcome kit that is waiting for my review once I get finished with bead and a couple other high priority items. And then the Aerial Now campaign that we talked about, and you guys authorized the budget for that for free installations for 50 customers some months ago now. We have the GIS list from Lucas, and we now I've signed off on the these are, I guess, not exactly, I guess they're postcards, large postcards that are going to be mailed out to people that we think are eligible. So that's pretty exciting. We're going to be able to see what sort of a result we can get from that. So just as a reminder, within the city of Regents, there are a lot of addresses that are eligible for really fast installation aerially, just because there's so many utility poles so close to the houses there. So we want to see what we can do to get our take rate up by enticing people with a free installation and rapid installation. So if this works, and this is not only a marketing trial but also an operational trial to see how we actually work through this with WCBT and billing. So we talked about this with them to make sure they're on board, and so I'm excited to get that going. Okay, so community engagement. We sponsored the Porter 100th. I think, as you guys know, we sponsored the Festival on the Green last week. Field Days is coming up next week, so I will be shortly sending out a to the entire governing board if anyone is interested in volunteering to come and spend some time at manning the booth. Slots are open. I don't know. In previous years, we have, either I or an intern have been there usually for a lot of hours in the afternoon, because it's the afternoon that gets a lot of traffic. So, and we have Matthew Mills, our wonderful intern, is going to be available for a lot of that, and I'll be there as well. But it is also good if people on the governing board are interested to go and hear directly from customers and participate. So, because that's one of the things that we're trying to do strategically also, is participating in markets and whatnot, having it not just be me and our intern all the time, because I have a lot of other things going on, but also B, it's really good for people from the community to see people from the community, see people from Maple Broadband. This is, I talked about this previously. We're going to have a pop-up at Lulu Ice Cream, because Lulu is now, obviously they are models from our photo shoot, but they're also Maple Broadband customers, and they are great community reps. I mean, you guys all know Laura and how much she does for the community and local business. So it's great to be working with them. So they have offered to host a pop-up event, come try the fiber, see how it is, talk to us, have a Q&A. So again, that's going to be a trial to see how well that goes. And it says second week of August. We don't have a date actually set yet. I think that was, we're still trying to coordinate to make sure that I'm available, and that it's going to be approximate. It won't be before the second week of August. Let's put it that way. And we are also sponsoring Virgins Day on August 23rd. And then the Middlebury Summer Markets, we are working through the logistics on this, because Matthew's available, but he doesn't have a car. And because he doesn't have a car, it's a little bit hard to get the tent to and from the green. I mean, even if we were to store it at ACRPC, that's a lot of heavy things to be carrying for a quarter mile or whatnot. So we're just trying to work through if we might be able to store the materials with some friendly business or nonprofits closer to Triangle Park in order to facilitate that. And also, it would be good to get more governing board members to sign up for that, or for partial shifts there. Steve.
Regarding staging materials for that Middlebury project, that beautiful new town hall theater facility probably has storage there. I would recommend you reach out to Magna. She's got, deeply involved with them, and might be able to provide some storage space there for us.
I figured I'd reach out right to Lisa, who's probably more operationally involved. I know her. She's the executive director. I just haven't had a chance since yesterday when the suggestion came up. Okay, and then I asked for an update on the door-to-door. So the current status there is London Middlebury is recruiting volunteers to see who's interested in doing this and do some training. And they are, I think they seem to be pushing to have, leaning on the governing board to support, and more of having pop-up events at people's houses rather than going door to door. So That's their suggestion, at least. And London Middlebury is always happy to come and speak to the executive committee about the tactics and answer questions. They were just very busy this week with the website, so I didn't want to throw this on them as well. And I think that's it. That's the marketing update. Jeff.
Where are we in terms of customers? Who have we signed up over the past 90 days?
We are, let me open up the latest dashboard. We haven't had, I think it's been running at like 10 to 15 a month over the last couple of months. That's been our track record. So not a lot. And I think we are only now starting to hit the stride of what we talked about earlier of using these marketing efforts to push and see if we can increase on the take rate. So I can get you more specific numbers if you want, but that's basically where we are. And part of the thing there was intentional, I guess you can call it delay, but intentionally holding off on doing some of these marketing activities until such time as we had the new website to direct people to with the landing pages for the digital ads, and also the new photography to be sending out the aerial now, for example, in Virgins, that London Middlebury thought we'd have a better response if we used local images rather than stock images for something like this. So it has been a delay of maybe a month from where we would ideally have been, but we're getting them going now. Steve.
Normally, Jeff, until recently, our weekly meeting with WCVT happened the day before our executive committee meeting, and we just swapped that around well, just a short while ago. So normally we have real-time information on that. But what you may recall I've been doing lately is Ellie and I meet with WCVT outside operations folks. They'll give us some subscriber counts, and as I've done for everyone on the executive committee in the past, I'll give you just that number, that new number, whatever it is. So we'll have current real-time information at that point.
Yep. As of the end of last month, we were 581 subscribers. So almost 600. Okay. Steve.
So we're going to, the new website's going live later today, or maybe it's already live now, correct?
It's not live yet because I have been in the meeting and haven't logged into the domain.
Oh, that's right. You're going to do GoDaddy thing, right? Couple things. One, have a second or third or fourth set of eyes reviewed all the contents on the website to ensure that everything is in order? And then I think, second of all, I'm wondering if this is what we would want to consider a soft opening, where we're not going to even announce to our community that we've got a new website. Are we just going to let that wash over them in the next few weeks?
I think we talked about putting it in the newsletter, which will go out in about a week, so a bit of a soft launch for now. And I think probably I was the second set of eyes, because London Middlebury has a team of multiple people that all worked on it, and I spent some time yesterday going over everything and adding some commentary and feedback. But I think we also want to get this up and running, and I'm sure that there will be some small bugaboos and typographical changes, and you guys can feel free to send those through to me, and I'll consolidate and send them on. Actually, I have access to the back end as well, so if it's a small thing, I can also simply make the change.
In the past, Ellie, you've used Ross to help clean up any inaccuracies or irregularities in the minutes, and he is a savant when it comes to looking for picky little details that are not right. I would encourage you to reach out to Ross and ask him if he could go through it and provide comments, and certainly he'd help us ensure the integrity of the website.
That's actually a great idea. I should maybe put that out to the entire governing board to let them know, hey, we're in soft launch, have a look, and if you have any feedback, let me know, right?
Yeah, the sooner the more. I mean, and say, maybe inform them that we're closing this review period in 1 week. So take a look, let us know, and if we don't hear anything from you by the end of next week or whatever, great idea.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where perfection is the enemy of the good. I mean, I'm sure that we could probably take weeks to wordsmith this thing to death, but I just said, all right, it's better than what we have now. Let's just pull the trigger, and then whatever we're not happy with, we'll change later. Because there is some of that, like I said earlier. I think that the way that the prior public meetings are listed is not optimized from my standpoint. But I'm pretty sure that the only one that's looking at that page on a regular basis is me. So
Since I got a quick walkthrough with London Middlebury when we were doing that photo op, but I'm wondering if you want to convene or add to our next meeting agenda new website review, and give the executive committee the opportunity to critique anything, to talk about anything that they notice that they're concerned about, or thing they think that it's not real strong, at least to socialize it to some degree to make sure that everyone's on board with it.
sounds good. I'm happy with that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else on marketing? Okay, parking lot. So there were 2 updates in the parking lot. One is Steve mentioned earlier that we received permitting approval for Ripton, which is great. The second one is just prior to my vacation, I did have a call with CVOEO about doing the eligibility verifications for low income or otherwise qualifying customers, and that was a really good call. They expressed an interest in doing it, and we're going to reach out to NECA to understand their process better. I sent them NECA's process materials, and I need to follow up with them, but this has not been an extreme urgency in the last couple of days since I've been back from vacation. But positive progress, all things considered, because it would be great to have local people who know, who know our community in more detail, actually doing those verifications for us. Anything else anyone wants to talk about in the parking lot, or anything anyone wants to add to the parking lot?
Thanks for updating those, Elliot. It looks a lot of those items look much more accurate now.
Yep, I try to keep it updated, but I might miss it on occasion.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Does anyone have? I don't have any other updates, but I want to leave that in case we forgot something between the time the agenda was issued and when we meet. Does anyone have any other business? Okay. Well, hearing none, our next meeting is in 2 weeks' time on the back to the regularly scheduled first and third Thursdays. I don't have any more vacation scheduled for a while, so we should be able to stick to that. All right. I understand a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, that's a move in a second. All right, thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Take care. Good afternoon.